And so continuing on the theme that was started in chapter 45, we've got all these logistics of the temple complex, the feasts. He's talked about Passover and different things that are going to be happening there. And he's going to continue talking about some of the logistics of feasts in the temple complex in the Messianic age. So again, as we get into Ezekiel 46, remember, we're continuing the vision that began in chapter 40. So if you want the broader context, if you're just jumping into chapter 46, please go back and look at the video I did in notes for chapter 40, where I gave a lot more of the context and setting for all of this. Ezekiel is seeing earthly Jerusalem, like earthly Jerusalem, where it is today, same place, but in the future, in the Messianic age, when God has brought about all his covenant promises and all of Israel's adversaries are defeated, and we have this great hope, and Ezekiel is seeing it as a message to give hope to us today for our ultimate destiny, so we can live for this day. So here are descriptions of the feasts, as now we've come to. In chapter 46, it's taken me to the gate of the inner court that faces east. So it's the eastern gate of the inner court. This one is not permanently sealed, it seems. It will be shut on the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath day it shall be opened. And on the day of the new moon, it shall be opened. So it's a gate that opens and closes. But there's still a rule about nobody entering through that gate or passing out another gate, because this is still one of the gates that the glory of the Lord passed through. The glory of the Lord came into the temple through the eastern outer gate and the eastern inner gate. And so there are rules about those gates because of the way the glory of the Lord passed through it. So the eastern gate of the inner court has this rule as well, where the priest can come up to the porch of the gate, but he cannot go in that gate and out of another one or do any kind of, there's rules about how he handles that gate. And what's neat about that gate is when that gate is opened, when the gate that is on the eastern side of the inner court is opened, it gives the crowd a direct view of the temple into the doors of the temple. So the crowd can see the altar and the temple behind it. So it would be like, here would be, if you were looking at me on the screen and you would see the altar here, and then the temple would be like me in the background as you're peering through the eastern gate. You could see into the temple. So fascinating thing. So the people of the land will bow down at the entrance of the gate before the Lord on Sabbaths and new moons, when that gate is open, and the prince can come up and he participates. Let's see. The prince will enter by the porch from the outside. So he approaches it on the outside porch. He takes his stand by the post of the gate. The priest will offer his burnt offering. So the prince does not officiate the offering. The prince provides the offering, but the priests make the offering. If you like the priest go through the ritual of the offering. With the prince standing by, the prince is standing still, I think, on the outside of the inner court, but on the porch of the eastern gate. And then he has to go out the same way. And then the gate gets to remain open. So they do the ceremony in the morning. The prince can come up to the porch, the outer porch of the eastern gate, and he can observe. And then he has to go back out. He can't go into the inner court, it sounds like. So worship at the threshold, and then he will go out, but not that way. Then the gate gets to remain open. So everybody who comes to visit can come and worship, and they can see, they get to look in every when? Sabbath and new moon. So fascinating. Burnt offerings, yes, you've got recipes for that. Fascinatingly, as we get down to here, Ezekiel is shown the traffic pattern for the visitors of the outer court. So if you want to, in the Messianic age, go visit, and you are not a resurrected, believer, if you are a mortal survivor who has survived into that time, and you want to go visit Messianic temple complex in the Messianic age, here's what you do. You will assemble before the Lord for the appointed feast, and if you enter through the northern gate, then you're going to work your way around the complex, through all of the assembly line and everything. You're going to cross by where you can see, look into the eastern gate, and then you're going to enter out of the southern gate. And vice versa. If you enter through the southern gate, you get to come up into the temple, you get to look into the eastern gate, into the inner court, and then you get to go up out of the northern side. So the traffic pattern is described. This very logistical, allows everybody to move in one direction, whether you're moving north or south, and everybody gets to see into the eastern gate, which is so cool. So cool. Then we've got descriptions for feasts. Yes, even a free will offering, the gate of the east. Oh, let's see. When the prince provides a free will offering, either a burnt offering or a peace offering or a free will offering to the Lord, then also the gate facing east can be opened for him so that he can look into it too from the porch. He gets to walk up onto the porch and he can look in. Fascinating stuff. Then, yes, a lamb, burnt offering. Oh yeah, there's a daily morning offering. Interestingly, there's not described daily morning and evening offerings. There's a daily morning offering, and it's a perpetual statute. It's a little bit different than the daily offerings of the Mosaic Law. And then, of course, there's the rules for the priest to make a gift to his son for an inheritance. And this section is one of the reasons why we know the priest, or the prince, I should say, seems to be a mortal survivor who has a family of his own. He's not a resurrected person. He's got a permanent residence, and he's got a land inheritance that's bequeathed to his sons, who will inherit his role as prince as well. So you see that described there in that section from verses 16, 17, and 18. And then down here, boiling places. So we go back to the assembly line. This section here describes what's probably the termination point for the assembly line. Remember, if somebody brings an animal to be sacrificed, it goes through an assembly line of a table for washing, a table for slaughter, a table for cleaning, and then eventually it gets to these kitchen areas. There are kitchen areas where those sacrifices will be seasoned, and they can be boiled, they can be cooked, they can be roasted, whatever it is. Amazing. Just the detail that is shown to us. Kind of the continuation of the assembly line that was shown to us in Ezekiel 44, which I have put in the notes for you to look at too if you want. So that's going to do it for chapter 46.